CreateSpace. CreateSpace is your one-stop shop for publishing, marketing, and selling your book. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. This is Whitney on behalf of the CreateSpace team, and we are excited that you are able to join us for this webinar. I am pleased to introduce book marketing consultant Brian Judd. He is the author of the book, How to Make Real Money Selling Books, and the host of the TV show, The Book Authority. Today, Brian will discuss how to launch your new book successfully. If you'd like to listen to this webinar or previous webinars at your own convenience, they can be accessed by visiting the resource section on the CreateSpace site. If you have questions during the presentation, you can send them in via the questions tool, and we'll try to respond to as many as we can during the event and during a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Brian.
Great, Whitney, and thank you very much. And thank you all for joining us on this webinar this evening talking about how to launch your book successfully. And it's certainly a hot topic. We have a great audience tonight, but it's something that is big on everyone's mind because it's not something that you do just when your book is released. Or if you've never published before, it's something if you already have a book out, all these tips will apply to you because marketing is something it's a career-long expectation. So what to expect from this webinar? I'm breaking it down into 3 phases just to make it a little bit easier. There is one phase of the creative part, then the production part, then the marketing part, or the introduction, I should say, because all these fit together. And it's something you really have to stand out in a positive way to get visibility for you and your book, and do everything in the right sequence. And first of all, you have to do everything, but doing it in the right sequence. And we'll show you that. We have several handouts for you that list the different actions to take and the time to do those. So by the time you are finished today, you should have a real good background and a real good opportunity to market your books. This is the typical life cycle stage. I'm sure you've seen this before, but it starts off with the introduction period when your book is published right here. And that's when most people think about marketing. But really, there are 2 parts before that. There's the creative phase, and that entails certainly writing your book, but there's more to it than that. Then the production phase. So we'll start off talking about these 2, and then the introduction phase. This we will look at, or we have looked at in many different webinars with CreateSpace. So we'll be focusing on just the introduction period. It starts out with, why do you want to write? Why do you want to get published? And it's really important. It sounds like a very basic thing, but this really sets your objective, and all your actions are based upon your objective. So if you can just get a good feel for this, and certainly there's not anything wrong with any of these, just a matter of knowing, are you writing for family and friends? Or I've had clients that have a tragedy that has occurred to their family or someone in their family, and they write for the cathartic experience. They're expert on the subject and trying to grow or support a business, or maybe just launching a writing career. And that's what we're assuming that most everybody listening on this webinar today is joining us because they're launching a writing career. You want to sell books. And that to think about write what you love, and that comes up with or generates your passion. But write what you know also, because that's what gives you credibility when you're on the air. Because about 350 million people woke up today in the U.S. And you think, how many of those were thinking about their problems, and how many were thinking about your book? So you've got to do all these things I'll be talking about, all these marketing activities, to get more of those people thinking about your book and less about their problems, or how your book can actually help them solve their problems. I'll show you all how to do that. But start off with a little story here about Chinese bamboo and books. It may sound like it's something like an odd combination, but think about planting a bamboo shoot seed. In year 1, if you nurture it, you give it enough light, you water it and talk to it nicely, it'll grow about 2 inches. In year 2, if you give it enough light, if you nurture it, if you talk to it nicely, give it enough water, it'll grow about 2 inches. Year 3, the same thing. If you do all those, if you take care of it very nicely, it'll grow about 3 inches. In year 4, if you take care of it and you water it and give it enough light and nurture it, it grows about 2 inches. And I make the analogy to book marketing because a lot of people will stop here. They get frustrated. They've been working for 4 years and nothing happened, or there have not been major sales. But with bamboo, in year 5, it'll grow 80 feet. And it doesn't grow 80 feet because of what you did in year 5. It grows 80 feet because of what you did all along here. And there is that analogy that I think that really applies to book marketing, because you have to nurture your book and give it time to grow. That's the key point. You have to allow the marketing activities that you'll be doing to really take hold and take effect if you're doing them right and doing enough of it. The reward is proportional to effort over time, and those are major points, because it's what you put into it is what you get out of it. Same, just like a garden, and it's effort, not always money. I'll show you some things that you can do that are low cost or no cost. So it's a matter of effort, and starting off like you're flying a plane or taking off in a jet. Most of the power is used up, or it takes most of the power to get off the runway. And then after you're up and flying straight and level, you can reduce the power a little bit. And somewhat the same with your promotion, that during the introductory period, you're really working a lot, putting a lot of effort into it. And your your sales start to increase depending upon your effort over time. So just to make that point, that it does take a while to get all these things together and to make it happen. And I always talk about the book marketing process being as simple as pie, that you plan, implement, and evaluate. So the more that you can evaluate your activities to make sure that you're doing the right ones and doing them correctly, then this curve will increase at a more rapid pace. Let's look at the 10 commandments of book publishing. These are some lessons that I've learned or that I wish I had known starting out years ago. And I've written 17 titles over the past 20 years, and I was in the corporate world before that. So getting into publishing was a new thing for me, and I had to learn a lot of these lessons. But the idea that planning is something that you really have to do. People will get in the ready, go, get set type of a framework where the book is out and they just start doing things rather than taking the time to plan. I tell people, you don't just do something, stand there. Think about what you're going to do and then make that happen so you can reduce the risk, if nothing else. This concept of knowing your target buyers is really a critical part of book marketing. And when you're writing your book, when you're marketing it, you always have to think of your target buyer. Keep that image in your mind. And this is, as an example, you may have a target, you may have a retirement book. So you've written a book for your target is 45-year-old male, some college that are in this income bracket. So if you look at how this can help you with your social media, the gender, the male population versus the female population, obviously, and where they're online. Looking at this is if you're looking at the male audience, it's over here, so probably Reddit, LinkedIn, Google Plus would be good bets for you for social marketing. Now, if you look here at the age of 45 plus, then it tends to narrow it down a little bit. LinkedIn has a good size audience in that marketplace. Facebook, YouTube are pretty good opportunities, so you can contact or work those to reach your target market. But you add the education concept with some college in there, well, LinkedIn looks like it's got a better opportunity than most others. And if you put in the income of 50,000 plus, LinkedIn has the highest segment of those people in that segment. So I just want to give you an example of the more that you know about your target buyer, and then you can reach those people in the proper place. And that can help point that out. And this concept of owning your niche is really an important part of it, because some people will say that they market to everybody. I'll say, who's your target market? Well, everybody who likes fiction, or everybody who's about to retire. Well, you have to organize that. You have to segment that and put people in groups and get them to, you have them in their niche, so your niche, where you have your brand, you're the expert in that, and you have to tell people about that, because your product, thinking nonfiction here, is a great way to do this, but you can do this with fiction too, where you can create a niche for historical fiction or for romance, where you are the expert in that topic. And then taking responsibility, personal responsibility is certainly important. I love this quote of Brian Tracy said, "If it's to be, it's up to me." And I've always thought about that I've got to take personal responsibility for making my sales work, because nobody else is going to do that for you. You've got to, if you may be with the publisher, a royalty publisher, and that most likely they're not going to do as much promotion as you would like, and you have to get more into it. Like the more you do, the more you'll sell. And have realistic expectations. I think that BookScan said 98% of all books sell less than 5,000 copies. And Publishers Weekly said the average is about 500 copies. So if you're looking for commercial success and you have to think about if you're going to sell more than 5,000 copies to reach your objectives, then you've really got to put more effort, more time into making this happen. And I'm not suggesting that you quit your day job, because I wouldn't think about that until your book is really taking off. But just the idea that you can do a lot of things in the off time, which I'll be talking about as we go through this. Be first, different, and better. The idea is that if you can come up with a unique value proposition, the unique being yours, and we'll talk about that when we get into the building your brand. But so many people will say, my book is just like Harry Potter, but then you go up and explain how it's different. Well, you want to start off being different and better than your competition and building your brand around that unique value proposition. I talk about perpetual promotion. I actually wrote a book on that with that title of Perpetual Promotion, because you've always got to be doing something. You don't just bring a book out and market for a limited amount of time. You're doing that over the years and doing the 2 inches at a time and the growth. So in some point in the future, your sales skyrocket and grow those 80 feet. Budgeting, create your own ATM. Budgeting your attitude, your time, and your money. And if the sales sales don't occur quickly enough, at least for your perspective, that can really take its toll on your attitude. And if you don't budget enough money or time, you're not doing enough and not doing it right, not doing it properly, not doing it in the right sequence to make it effective. So I'll show you how to budget that. And building relationships with the media, with the people in your platform, with prospects, with customers, with retailers. If you can build these relationships and maintain them over the life of your title, because in most cases you probably aren't going to make it really big with one book. You've got one title. You've got to come out with multiple titles. I'm not saying it can't be done, but it's easier, and the retailers, the distributors are more likely to work with you if you have a series on that. And then having fun. It's something that we get beat up a lot in this, and like you'll see that as we go along with getting rejection and getting frustration. So you have to do what you love and have fun doing it. I think that's really an important part. And then always do more than expected. If you promise 10 things, give 11, and make sure that everybody that is on your list is use the 10 commandments, and I think that you'll have more fun doing it. So let's look at this phase one over here. This creative phase is the first one we'll talk about. So we'll hit these sequentially. I'll talk about phase one first, obviously, then phase two, and then we'll get into the introductory time period. So phase one, what's your objective? Well, the objective is to create the foundation for success. If you talk to an architect could look at the foundation of a building and can tell how tall it's going to be just by seeing the depth of the foundation. So you've got to really set that the basis for the rest of your marketing and the rest of your writing. You're writing quality content that's based on the needs of a target market. So you're always going back to that concept. I think that when you're trying to say, what does my target market want? How am I different from the competition? And how can I give them something that's different and better than what's already existing? And then you're looking at the actions. These you'll see in each of the phases. They have different functions or different weights, but you have to do the planning and the writing and the marketing and some research in each one of these phases. You'll come in contact with a lot of different people, so the buyers, the people who buy your books, but the teachers also. That's why you're here today, because you're listening. You want to learn about how to launch a book successfully. So talk to other people, read, attend seminars and webinars, and when something I learned, when you talk to someone that's really successful, which I think is a good idea, don't try to do what they're doing now. Try to do what they did back when they were in your position. And if you can try to elicit that from them when you're talking to them, what did you do to get started? Then your cheerleaders, the people who can help you with your attitude as you're going along, help you maintaining your attitude and improving it. And that's a lot of people overlook that. I think that's something that is really helpful to make happen. So research in phase one. Certainly you have the buyers. You're looking at your buyers and the consumers, your target market, the competition. I wrote a series of job search books. My first few titles were about how to get a job. And people would always say, how is your book different from what color is your parachute? So I had to have an answer for that. Of course, mine was better, but I had to explain why and why it was better. I talked before about owning your niche, and it's important to put your opportunities in segments, because if you say I'm going to market to everybody, well, you have to market to them in the way in which they want it to be marketed to. And you have a different strategy for each of these segments. This could be, for example, segments for a children's title. And you could sell it to children's hospitals and libraries and schools and PTAs and work-at-home parents, moms groups, daycare centers. They all have a different reason for buying. So the more closely you can organize them in these groups and find out how you can meet their needs, the more likely you are to sell. So putting them in these segments is certainly a major start to making that happen. And there are certain traits for a winning book, and this is one of the handouts that will be on the CreateSpace site with the link to the recording. Again, this is being recorded, so you'll have that link with these handouts on it. And this is what makes a book more likely to succeed. Something that is no seasonal variation. I just highlighted some of these. I won't talk about every one of these because you'll be receiving it. But no seasonal variations. With the job search book, I was selling it to the college market. It was seasonal because you have the December and June graduates. But I also had to market to people who are unemployed all year round. So the more likely you are to have, or the less seasonal variations you have, the more likely you are to sell more books. Price competitively, a unique point of difference. That's really critical. And these things are adequate planning, proper implementation. You can have a great plan, but if you don't do the promotion properly, then you don't sell either. So I just wanted to show you what you will be getting as one of the handouts. And then how do you do this research? Well, read and go to these all things we've talked about, going to your teachers and certainly searching the internet, going to Amazon.com and putting in your topic and see what other books are out there. You sort it by best selling and find out what types of information those people are looking for. I did that in bookstores. When I was coming out with my first books, I went to bookstores and we just see that they're alphabetical by author. So I go to the career section and see who's next to Judd, or where will I be on the shelf, what other books are around there. So you can get an idea of the pricing and what they cover, or the colors of the covers and the size of the books, and so it just gives you some good feedback. The affiliates, these are publishing groups around the country. This is Connecticut Authors and Publishers Association that I run. There's a Bay Area, Florida Publishers Association. If you go to the IBPA, Independent Book Publishers Association site, it'll list those, and you can find the one that's closest to you, and you can join that. I think test marketing is a really important point, whether it's coming up with your pricing, your cover design, the layout, helps you build a platform. And again, this is just one of the handouts you'll be receiving. But I wanted to show you, this is something that I did for one of my clients of testing different cover designs. This was about a cannon train of a book that was a cannon train that was in the Revolutionary War period. So we put this up, you put it up on a website, on your own website, and have people vote for it. I'm going to take a quick look up here and think of which one we chose that showed this cannon train from Fort Ticonderoga to Boston to Fort Ticonderoga in the Revolutionary War. This is the one actually that we ended up going with, that people didn't like the black and white and they want to see the people in it and the cannon. So, but we did that through testing, and it did very well because we tested the cover design. Discussion groups, trade shows. The Book Expo America is probably the biggest trade show in the U.S., and that is something that if you attend that in generally late May, early June every year, but if you go to the bookexpoamerica.com website, then you can find out about that. And I highly recommend you going there just to do some research on your topic. So let's get into the phase one planning. And this is another one of the handouts you'll be receiving of the pre-publication actions I think that you'll find most helpful. And I put the timeline, the sequence here to it. So about if you're doing something next October, well, there's things that you need to be doing now. And you'll see this is not an exhaustive list. I won't be talking about all of these today either, but I just wanted to give you some more things to consider, and then the time to do that in preparation for your official launch. So the more that you can do in this sequence, I think that you'll find this to be a nice checklist that'll help you plan and implement all the actions that I think are required, or necessary, I should say, for a positive, successful launch. Then having, I call it 2020 vision. I don't call it that, but 2020 vision. Thinking, what again, long term, what will you be doing in 2020, in the year 2020? Well, it's 8 years from now, and are you going to have several different books out, several different titles? Are you going to own your niche, or you're using your book as a way to build your business? And just think about that so you have a long-term perspective. Joining the Small Publishers Association of North America and IBPA is certainly good ideas. Developing your business model. Part of your business plan is based upon your business model, but are you using your book as part of your building your business or building your career? And that will impact all your other activities. Budgeting. I can't tell you how many times I hear people say, well, I've spent all my money on production. I don't have anything left for marketing. And that is not going to be a good situation to be in. So if you can budget your time and your activities, and particularly your money, you're much more likely to do that. And so you look at this basically in 3 different ways. Knowing what you're going to do, or what you need to do, because you have that checklist now, so you can decide what you need to do. That was a pre-launch checklist. I have another checklist for the introductory stage. But look, what do you need to do now or throughout your introduction period? What are the costs for doing that? And what revenue can you expect from your actions? And you certainly don't want to spend it all on your production. This is something that I think you may find helpful. This is a handout that will be on the CreateSpace site along with the link to the recording. But the things here, like you just put the revenue up here. I just had it month 1 through month 4, looking at a 4-month introductory period from the time that you first introduce your book. And do not expect any sales very, very quickly. This could be period 1, period 2. And allow your efforts to take hold and to work. But look at what do you have to be doing here. You may put $4,000 into it. These are just numbers I put in here. Through these different things that you can be doing over the different periods of your introduction. And you say you're putting in initial $3,000 just as your seed money for this. Well, this shows you it takes about 4 months, or 4 periods to really break even. And you can play around with this, because if you're introverted, and I have some tips for introverts versus extroverts. But say you don't plan on media training, which I recommend that you do, but see how this changes all your numbers down here. The ending month here is your beginning month over here. So this, you can play around with this and add more to it, add different topics to it, and you can, I think, use this to help you get a good start on your budgeting for your introductory period. So look at in phase 1, obviously you'll be doing some writing. And this is probably the biggest part. If you had to do a pie chart of what you'll be doing, the writing is the biggest part of your action in the creative stage, because that's when you're writing and you're rewriting. This concept of rewriting is very important too. But you're learning more about writing, learn more about your topic, and to add more current information and to get information for your personal presentations. So the more that you can learn, the more you get feedback from others. These can be your cheerleaders too, and your advocates, and also people who can help you become a better writer at that. Focus on quality content. Once you're out there and you're getting reviews, people will base their opinions on purchase opinion on reviews in many cases. But if you have quality content, that will impact the word of mouth. Word of mouth advertising is inexpensive. It's free. But it can be positive or negative. So the more that you can have quality content based upon your target needs, the more likely you are to come up with a quality product, quality writing, and that's your objective, or one of your objectives here. there is marketing that's to be done in phase one. And this is something I read this the other day. It really made sense that nobody ever made money writing a book, only by selling it. You can have the best manuscript in the world, but if nobody knows it's available, if it's not in form that people can look at it, see it, and read it, well, they're not going to buy it. So you have to be able to, well, obviously write it, a quality product, and then sell it so using the techniques we're talking about. And phase one marketing, so while you're writing, there are things that you can be doing also. Building your platform. The way I look at this is the number of people who know who you are, and they recognize you. They may be friends, they may be followers on Twitter or something, but social marketing is part of that. Social marketing helps build your platform. There are other things that you can do, and I will talk about some of those so you have a good idea how to build that platform. But just start your social marketing, start your platform building very early in the process. And it's just something that you can do throughout perpetually, perpetual promotion. So in planning your website, and these are something that you can look at now about what you can do, how your trailer will look, how your website will look. You don't have to do with the actual production of it yet, because the bulk of your time should be spent on the writing at this point. But just keep in mind some of these other techniques or some of the other writing marketing options for you. Now you move on to phase two. And this is an interesting question. When are you ready to say, well, I'm done? You get to the point where you say, I've had enough, I'm ready to start marketing it, I want to get my book published. And there are two, I think, ends of this continuum. One, say, well, it's good enough. And the other is perfection. I think that you need to be able to work more towards a perfection end, because good enough is rarely good enough. That you have to be able to come up with a quality, competitive product and seek the opportunity. But if you don't want to wait for perfection, or you'll never get your book out and won't sell anything. So I think that search for this time on this continuum. And then when certainly we'll show you a variety of these different concepts that will impact that decision, but just you get to the point where I'm done. I want to get this out now. So you move to the next phase, which is the phase two of publication. And again, they have the objective here is to produce a high-quality book and prepare for its launch. And your strategy, you'll want to manage the production process and start doing different marketing actions. We also have some writing to do here, too. It's more promotional writing, but there are writing actions that you will need to take in this period also. And here you're dealing with a publisher, such as it could be CreateSpace, and the designer is there, but also the readers and the buyers. And I'll talk a little bit about getting sponsorship money for upfront. So you're talking to your buyers, and you're starting to build your platform among your readers and your friends and your followers. So you're always doing some marketing in all these phases and setting the foundation for all your future marketing, planning, and writing activities. So let's look at phase two planning. How much money you spend? Well, if you look at that budget, then it's something that you can plan how much money you need to spend. Here, all the actions I have to do to make this launch successful, how much is that going to cost? And then you look at what sales are probable, or not probable, or likely. One trap you want to avoid is something that I did initially, to tell you what not to do, is that I could just, when I did all my expenses first, everything I wanted to do, then I made the sales come up so they would cover all my expenses. And that's not the best way to make that happen. So just be very, what I suggest that when you come up with your revenue and your expenses is to cut your revenue in half and double your expenses, and you'll probably be more likely of what's really going to happen. When to launch? That's an important question. We talked before about that opportunity phase. One of the things may be the time period. Right now it's October, and it's too late to get into retail buys for the fourth quarter, the holiday period. People started, the books are on the shelf for that. I went to one store recently, they already had their Christmas decorations up, so people are preparing for Christmas and the Hanukkah and the Thanksgiving, Halloween at this point. Your company name, your business cards, you create your literature. These are things that now, your book is in the production phase. It's being produced by your publisher. So what else can you do to get your logo, to build your business, and come up with a good telephone number? My telephone number, my job search books was 1-800, it still is, 800-JOB-HELP. And if you can come up with a number that is memorable, because if you're doing a radio show, a morning drive time radio show, if you say it's 800-562-4357, people are less likely to remember something with 800 job help. So if you can plan on that, it's all part of your planning and implementing at this point, part of your business planning. Setting goals. And this is a difficult point because of an author overconfidence. Generally, that you've just finished a great book, and by all of your criteria, it's going to be a major seller, a major sales tool. So you may get a little bit over-aggressive. That's going to have some problems with your attitude. But if you can come up with a time-oriented objective, a goal, say by the end of next year, here's what I'm going to do. Do something that's it's specific. So here's how many books I'm going to sell. And to do that, how many media appearances do I have to have? How many reviews? How many testimonials? And how many blog entries? And so that this can help help you plan your activities too. Be realistic. Here's how much money I'm going to make from this, because a lot of the books that you come up with, you will have to discount, and to sell to retailers, you're giving up more than half your revenue just to retailers, to the distributor, and then your books could be returned. So be very realistic in this and very measurable. Have it in very specific, time-oriented, and measurable, and you can these can be very motivating. Your goals can be very motivating for you. Now, phase 2 is promotional writing. So you're writing your book, that's finished. Now you're turning your writing skills to promotion. Now look at some of the things that you can write. Certainly a book trailer, you can start working on that and making that, writing out a script for that. And sending out press releases and media releases. There's a website called 24-7 pressrelease.com, and they will send your release out for free. CreateSpace has a service for sending out press releases also. So find out how you can get your press release, your media releases well written. There's a website called Press Release Grader, pressreleasegrader.com. You can upload your press release, and they'll give you a free analysis of it, and they do a good job for that. You're writing your sales literature, your one sheet. This is what you'll be sending to the media, so you have that everything in one page to send them. Maybe if you're a speaker, you're starting to write your presentation and your speeches, so you can, based upon your research and your writing, you're writing not necessarily a word-for-word script, but a sequence, the major points you want to cover. It could be for a telephone script for that, or for your sales and presentation, and writing letters to the editor, and doing your newsletter, blogging. I'll talk a little bit more about those in phase 3 also. But here you're starting to see, you're getting the promotional wheels turning, getting everything moving in the right direction. Phase 2, marketing. This is something that I think is really important for you, because during the production stage, you have certain things you need to be doing. One of those is, I think, writing a PAR statement. What is the problem that your audience has? What action did you recommend to solve that problem? What's the result? In my job search books, people didn't know when to read a chronological or a functional resume. So an action that I did was to have a checklist of when to do that. The result is they get a job faster, and that's what you're selling. See, people want the result. What do I, as the reader, get from reading your book? And this is an important page, because all your marketing will be on that right-hand column of saying, here's the result, here's the benefit, here's why you'll get more out of reading my book than somebody else's. And if it's fiction, it could be just entertainment. People may want to be entertained for that. They want to just something to have it in airport stores, because you want to have a flight from LA to New York or vice versa, and they want a nice read for that. So fiction, these techniques apply to fiction as well as nonfiction. So just keep these in mind as you're planning your actions. Establishing your brand identity. This is something that creating a brand that you're giving the people a message to carry for you when you're not there, when they're talking about you. For my book, I try to get them to say it's the Bible of non-bookstore markets, so that's what they're repeating when they're telling people about my book, How to Make Real Money Selling Books. And so the more I tell them that, the more likely they are to do that. If you come up with the one and only in your category, how is your book unique? What is your unique value proposition? And that's what you're communicating. And have this elevator pitch. You need to have a 2-minute elevator pitch when you're on the air, and people will say, "What is your book about?" We'll be able to say that in 2 minutes or less. And also have a 15-second elevator pitch, because if you're using after your voicemail message. And your elevator pitch, your press releases should all be benefit-oriented and deal with what the result column is for those people that are reading your book. For fiction, you may become known as the entertainment author, or the thriller author, or whatever that, or the romance author, or the whatever that may be. But that people will describe you in that context. Now, if you can put that in one sentence to stimulate this word of mouth by telling people in one sentence what you do. I help. Who's your target audience? What problem do they have? And what result, what benefit do you give them? For mine, I say I help authors and publishers who want increased sales, get more revenue from sales in non-bookstore markets. So that's what I do. And so that if you can put that in one sentence, I help who want to get, I think that you can very quickly add that to your elevator pitch and your press releases and on your media performances too. Getting your domain name, get the domain name that has your book title, your name on it also. We did a webinar a few months ago also on the CreateSpace site about the selling your book, marketing your book on the internet. So I won't talk too much about that because we covered that in that entire webinar. So these are some things that you can do in your phase 2 marketing. Creating that, let me just get back over here. Okay, building your platform. We talked before about what you can do to get more people to know who you are. So when your book comes out, then people are ready to buy, and you can let them know where and when it will be available. So to build your platform, certainly you will be doing your social, your networking online and personal, but also there are a lot of other things you can do. Writing articles, creating your own fan club, whether it's on Facebook or wherever, doing more blogging, and attending or holding seminars and webinars. So you're building that brand for yourself, but you're also creating ownership for your niche. The more that you can do that, come up with your own TV show. That's what I did, and on my local cable station network. So these are all things that you can do to build word-of-mouth communication, to get more people talking about you and about your book. Creating a website, again, we talked a lot about this in the last time, but there's certain points I do want to make is that you want to be able to make it your book easy to buy. And so you don't want to have multiple pages to get through, but above the fold, so to speak, on your website, have your book cover, have the major reasons why people should buy it. The link to your trailer should be up there, and give them some reason to buy it now, with maybe free shipping, for example, or something that will get people to buy now. But the more that you can get them to follow you on different social media, keeping your website current is certainly important. But this is an evolving stage, because the website is something that just happens, is not something you do and then forget about. It's something that you keep doing all the time. Arranging for sponsorships. This is something that can help you get some money before your book is launched. That if you can get the naming rights sponsorship, for example, that I did a seminar in Newark, New Jersey, and Continental Airlines had a hub there, so I got them to be the official sponsor of my seminar, and there was they gave a discounted airfare to people who were flying in for that, and they gave me a free ticket. Mark Victor Hansen was a speaker at my seminar, so it's Chicken Soup for the Soul guy. So that he wanted part of his agreement was a first-class ticket, and Continental Airlines gave that to me for free. So it was a good opportunity for getting upfront money. The presenting sponsorship, and maybe there was a book called two bachelors that got in an RV and traveled around the country to find out the secrets to a long marriage. So they got 800 Flowers to be the presenting sponsorship. It was the 800 Flowers tour. So if you can come up with also a sponsorship of a day or the week, this is Adopt a Pet Month. October is Adopt a Pet Month. So contact the Humane Society or the ASPCA, get them to sponsor you and maybe pay for a city tour for you. doing awards or scholarships. So these are things that you can come up with an exclusive sponsorship or have multiple people sponsoring your the two people that were traveling around the country in the RV got 800 flowers, and the Zales Jewelers and Hilton Hotels to all be sponsors for that. So you can generate some very good upfront money for that. Aligning with a cause, here you going to an association. October is also a Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so if you have a book that's on that topic, tie in with the American Cancer Society, and you donate a percentage or a dollar amount to them, but just to make sure that you know what your rights are and what, not your rights, but what you agree to them and what you can't do. You may have limitations on what you can do as far as using their logo. E-book conversions is something you will be doing during this phase where you're coming up with the producing that with your production phase. You may decide to have a Kindle version of your book. Excuse me. So that's keep that in mind as you're going through this, and it certainly has a lot of similarity in the marketing for it. Let's look at phase 3 now, the actual introduction. You have your book in hand, and it's well written, it's produced properly, and now it's time to introduce it and get it going. So here your objective is to start. You got to get a good start, building that exposure, getting visibility, getting awareness of you and your book. Implementing an assorted promotion mix. You're doing a lot of different things and doing them properly, certainly. There's some different things that you can be doing. And there are, the more that you can do, the more likely you are to get the response that you want from the target market. Here's another one of the lists, a checklist for the introduction period book marketing actions. And this is one of the handouts that will be on the CreateSpace site with the link to this. And I'm not going to cover all these in my webinar here, but it'll give you a good example of some of the things that you can do to market your book and to introduce it and to launch it successfully so you reach your objectives. And that's one of the handouts you'll be getting. So here you're dealing with everybody, certainly the media, readers, reviewers, friends. Everything becomes the perpetual promotion. So it's not how much you spend, but how you spend it. So you're looking at short-term and long-term results and trying to get exposure. Before you get sales, people need to know that your book is available. So show them that it is, and you have to hit multiple hits. When people see hear you on the air or see a review or read an article on that, the first thing that they may say is, well, so what? What's in it for me? And then third time they hear it, this could be a radio show, a TV spot, a book review, from a personal presentation, a webinar. Excuse me. The more hits they get, then they start coming up to the point where, okay, now I'm going to buy it. But they have to get 10 exposures to your message before that occurs. So you can have this assortment of marketing actions, but you also tying this in with the budget. There are certain things that you can do that are free, and certain things that are low cost, and things that are a little higher cost. Social networking is time-consuming, but it's no out-of-pocket money. Blogging is time-consuming, but no out-of-pocket money. Which is all these things that there are obviously certain things that you may need to do to hire publicists, but that's over here. But you can do a lot of publicity on your own. Low cost, I put website in both because this can be something where you can spend a lot of money on to make it really good, or you can do something really cheap. I recommend erring more towards the professional end of it, but you can do a lot of this by bartering or talking with people who can help you do that. But these are things that you can do that are low cost and higher cost. So the more that you can get an assortment of these, the more hits you get in a variety of ways, and you also have less or more impact on your budget. But certainly there are things that have a greater or lesser return on your time and money invested. And these are just, from my opinion, this is not something that's a scientific analysis here, but I think that in general that you get a lower return from story events and from reviews, unless we get some really good niche reviews. Cause marketing can really take its toll on your profits if you're giving away some money into that. But just I wanted to give an idea of, again, in my opinion, this is not a scientific analysis here, but things that I found to be more have a higher return, and certain things are cumulative. It's hard to really analyze or evaluate the return unless you're really doing these and doing these regularly and building up to that 10th hit and getting people to see your book and hear about you more specifically. So I just wanted to help you organize your plan and organize your budget and organize your actions of what you're going to do. Excuse me. Having a launch party can be a great way to introduce your book, to get some good press coverage from it, if you certainly invite the press. But it can be fun if you have fiction. Have the information based on your character, dress as your character, have people come as someone in your story. Have a theme for it. The location could be at a bookstore, it could be at a museum. I know one of the Create Space authors actually had a book about Fenway Park. It was Extra Innings was the title. And Bruce Spitzer had his launch party at Fenway Park in Boston. So the location can be about where your book is and where the topic is for that. But just think about, do you want to have champagne there? I wouldn't recommend having a lot of alcohol, but if you have champagne, certainly have a lot of food with it. And just have promotional items there that people can take away with them. Some sample publicity tools. I put some of these in red, thinking that it might show you that these are the ones in red I thought were those that could be done by someone who's a little bit more introverted. And if you look at the idea of when to market your book and when to launch it, there's a website called holidayinsights.com. If you go to that site, it will tell you the different months of the year. Like this is not the months of the year. It'll tell you the major marketing periods in that month. Like I said, that October is Adopt a Pet Month. Certainly, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So if your book is on these titles, then on these subjects, then you can use this. But just think of holidayinsights.com. It's a source of that information for you. Here, your writing skills are certainly important in the introductory stage. Your book is done, certainly. But now you're doing articles, and you're getting some viral marketing, increased exposure, getting more hits on people in a variety of different ways, different techniques, different opportunities. You're building your credibility because you're becoming known as the go-to person on that topic because all your articles are on your topic. You might note these two websites, and you can put your articles on those sites, and the people will go there, and the media will go there for more information. So you can put your articles in trade magazines and military magazines if that is your target market. See, what I want to do here is to show you where is your target, who is your target market, your target reader, and get into those places, put your articles in newsletters or the blogs that will reach these people. So you can repurpose your content in those articles. Post-pub reviewers, there are pre-pub reviewers, but the post-pub reviewers are those that will take a finished copy of your book. And Midwest Book Review is a very, he really works with self-published authors, with independent authors. Excuse me. And look, think about niche reviewers. The likelihood of you getting reviewed in the New York Times is not high, but if you get in Golf Magazine or Tennis Magazine, if your book is about that topic, or the New Bride Magazine, so get your book reviewed by these niche reviewers. Competing for awards. There are awards for a variety of different topics, and even for fiction. One of these handouts lists the different fiction awards that you'll be getting. And there are a variety of awards that are just for fiction titles. So also for cover design, for children's books, for ebooks. So I think that you can participate. These generally will have a fee associated with them. So it may cost $50, $100 for that to occur to get that. Personal presentations, I think, are a great way to get very quick revenue because you're going right to your target reader, your target market, and you're giving them a sales pitch. So you're going to the corporate buyers, doing retail store events, having personal presentations, working at trade shows. You can do personal presentations at trade shows, association conferences, conducting your own seminars. These are great ways to build credibility, to get good exposure, to reach your buyers, and to have fun also, because these can be a great way to do it. And these personal presentations really bring your brand to life, where people can see you, and they can say, well, this person, he or she really does know what she's talking about. And he's passionate. He's passionate about the topic, and also, he knows his stuff. So this helps you bring your brand to life, but also to make some money at the back. You sell at back of the room sales, at list price, non-returnable. Even a library tour, going to different libraries, you can do that and get paid to do it. And these places, if you're an experienced speaker, you can build up your speaking fee, so you get paid for the presentation itself, but also for your book sales. And mobile marketing, I just want to hit this briefly, because there's an article that I was reading today, actually in the October 8th Fortune magazine. The comment was, the platform is transitioning to the mobile internet. So what they're saying is that you go to an app called Path, and this is somewhat like Facebook, but it's only on smartphones. You can only have 150 friends, so it limits the number of friends. So you're getting more people who are the information brokers on that, helping that can spread the word for you. Advertising is a low cost per thousand, but you use QR. Go to this QRstuff.com. You can create QR codes so people will scan this with their smartphone and can go to your website, or go to an email, go to a video of you talking about your book. So the more that you can use or get familiar and use mobile marketing, I think this article was talking about how this can occur. There's also a fear of being without a cell phone. It's called nomophobia. No mobile phone phobia. So I thought that's pretty cute. Nomophobia. It's a fear of being without your cell phone. Sales promotion. These are a lot of different things that you can use that are generally low cost, that you can get a lot of exposure, a lot of widespread exposure for these. Just getting pens and pads with on the pad, have your book cover on that. Have a pen, have your URL, your website address on that. Come up with contests or sweepstakes to get more excitement, get the press involved with your events. It may be a low-cost prize, but if it's something at the higher cost, then you can get the press to back it and start talking about that. Certainly ad specialties. These are ad specialties that you can get statement stuffers, or something that anytime you send out a letter to someone, put a flyer in it. You've created your sales literature, so now come up with that, or use it functionally. Use it in postcards, and coming up with all this, and doing counter displays. There's bookdisplays.com is a company that can create a counter display for you. So you have some opportunities there. Now this is something that gets to the point where you have to take action. And if you can come up and control your action, but do it acting effectively and strategically and productively, and all these things, acting responsibly and responsively is something that's going to help you to do all these things in the proper sequence, in a proper way, but also doing them ethically. That if you have ethics, nothing else matters. If you don't have ethics, nothing else matters. So just work ethically, work passionately, creatively, and intelligently. So all these things will come together for you. And controlling your attitude. I wanted to add this because I know that a lot of times you can have a bad attitude based upon your sales and based upon on rejection. You'll be rejected more times than you're accepted. But handle it, deal with it. Come up with a way to deal with your rejection. When I sent out 500 letters one time to TV producers, and I got 10 responses, all negative. I sent each one of those a thank you note for rejecting me. Not thanking them for rejecting me, but thanking them for having the courtesy and the professionalism to respond to me. And I got, actually, one of the producers called back and asked me to be on the show. But I was trying to deal with my rejection. So have realistic expectations, and your sales are too low, but find out why they're low. Come up with reasons. Why is it something that evaluate objectively? Remember that PI technique I started off with, that plan, implement, and evaluate. If you send out a lot of letters, a lot of press releases, you're not getting on the air, well, maybe you need to revise your press release. So always evaluate your actions, and everything will cost more. Trust me, that no matter what you do, that it's going to cost more than you planned, and it may generate less sales than you've planned. But you have to keep doing something and deal with unexpected problems, deal with new opportunities as they arise. So that is our discussion of this. And the next, all the other webinars we've done with CreateSpace that are on their site also talk about this. But we've hit the major points of the introductory period that I think that once you've created this, all the actions leading up to that point, your sales should really skyrocket. So do we have any questions, Whitney? Or?
Thanks, Brian. We do have a few questions for you today. The
Sure,
first one is there a deadline for marketing your book after it launches?
That's good, because a lot of people will think the fact that they have to do a certain amount by a certain time frame. That's not the case. Once your book is launched, then there is no deadline for marketing. You have to think about that Chinese bamboo tree, that you're doing. The more that you do, that you may not be getting any results for it, but you have to keep working it. You have to keep doing it. You have to keep marketing and evaluating and trying different things. But it's that perpetual promotion. It's something that the more that the authors can do on a continuing basis, based upon their other, you have to obviously have a balance in your marketing and in your life. But keep at it and keep working at it, and don't think about deadlines. Think about goal lines. Think about the goal line being your objective and reaching at December 31st that you've met your goal line. But just think about all that you can do on a regular basis.
Great. The second one is, should authors build brand recognition for themselves or for their books?
Good point. I think that it's really, it depends. Now, the reason I say it, if you have fiction, for example, you're probably building a brand for yourself. You have Danielle Steele, John Fisham, Vince Flynn. I go in looking for the next Vince Flynn thriller. So it's something I don't think about the title. But if your book helps build your business, if your objective is to use your book as a business builder, then yeah, I think that you do again still need to build a brand around yourself. It's Tony Robbins or Stephen Covey or Harvey Mackay. So they're using their book as a business builder. So you build the brand around the consultant, around yourself. But if you have a series of books, and you build the brand around the series, like Harry Potter, it's certainly something. And it's a good example in that, Whitney, that the J.K. Rowling just came out with a new adult fiction book. I think it's called A Casual Vacancy, and certainly did not have the hoopla that the Harry Potter books had. And it's something that it's almost an unknown book because she built the brand around Harry Potter, not around herself. So it's an important decision to make. And if you're creating that brand, like a chicken soup brand, then you're putting the brand not on Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen, but on the chicken soup word. So you can do it either way, but it depends upon your objectives and what you're trying to accomplish, and what your objectives are for introducing your book or your books, your series of books. If you have one book out, probably you want to get the brand about that book, so one title out, so people will buy that if you're not going to come up with additional series. So that's a great question, but the answer is it depends on what your objective really is.
Okay, and our last one is, how do library tours work? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Sure. I had a client that we live in Connecticut, and he came up with a list of 162 libraries in Connecticut. So he ranked those in the order of their size, also the proximity to where he lived, and started contacting them. And he set up, it was a fiction book. It was a murder mystery. He talked about America's fascination with murder. And then he would obviously sell his books there. But he would contact the librarian, generally the meeting meeting planner, and the library would pay him an honorarium, maybe $50, $100, or whatever. They do all the promotion of it. And you show up with your books. You sell your books. You may give a percentage back to the library. It's not required, but it's something that you might choose to do that. And then you do a presentation, probably 45 minutes or so. Certainly ask the librarian how long they want you to speak, allowing time for Q&A, and certainly allowing time for selling books. So find out what time the library closes, You want to end up, you could either generally be on in evenings and weekends, and then that will give you time to sell your books. So if you can do all that, you can make a lot of. He made $3,000, sold 3,000 books, I should say, over a summer just by doing library tours and library presentations and getting paid for it in the process. So it was a very intuitive question. It's something that I think the authors of fiction especially can make a lot of money doing a library tour.
Great. Well, thanks, Brian. I think that's all we have time for today.
Okay, Whitney, thank you.
Thanks very much for sharing your tips and suggestions in this webinar.
You're very welcome, and thank you all for joining us.